I think just welcome back. It's been too long. We all know it's been too long. Um, we where have we been? We've been
Here, there, and
we've
everywhere.
we've been here, there, everywhere. We've been working. We've been at university.
But we're back, and that's the main thing. And we're back every 2 weeks, hopefully. We said that last time, though, and then it happened to be nearer 2 years.
2 years.
Um, but, you know, life gets in the way, and some of us went to get educated, and some of us went into full-time employment. But
So
now
it's just the way. That's just the way it goes.
that's the way it went. But it doesn't go that way anymore because you are now not in education or full-time employed. So we're ready to go.
Perfect. Ultimate
Nice.
free time machine right now.
Yeah, that is what you are, yeah. So yeah. Have you watched anything or been anywhere or done anything that you want to talk about recently?
I mean, in my 2 years since last we were here, I have done many things and been many places. But the main thing that I really want to talk about from all of that time is the first three episodes of Prison Break that I watched last night. That's been my biggest takeaway from my the last 2 years, I'd say. And I just, and I think that it might be a theme of this episode, maybe. But I just don't know what to make of it. I don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of just absolutely terrible, and it's also a bit thrilling in this. I think for the same reasons, because it's so stupid. Have you seen Prison Break?
No, but I'm aware of what it is, and I'm also aware that you're 3 episodes in. So to say that you don't know what to make of it is totally fair enough at this point.
What? So it's kind of already it lays its cards on the table very quickly. It's like this is the vibe. This is what you're going in for. This is what we're doing here. And it's just like he goes in the prison. He gets himself incarcerated by robbing a bank to go in to break his brother, who's supposedly been falsely imprisoned for the murder of the vice president's brother. And the evidence was tampered with. They've got the wrong man. So he's on death row and he's got a month. So he's got to get him out in a month. And he's got like it turns out that he's like a structural engineer whose company made that prison or something. So he's got in really weird like he's got it's such a great scene. He shows his brother all his tattoo. He got a bunch of tattoos of like supposedly of all the prison plans, like the blueprints to the prison. But like he lifts up his shirt and it's just like a tattoo. There's like a big angel in the middle of it or something. And then like they've got like little lines that come up that are meant to like show you like outline to the viewer like oh my God that like oh it's like hidden code like there's all the stuff you just have to look really hard all the blueprints but it's like not there like at all he's just got a tattoo that doesn't have the plans on it and they've just like put that over the top and you're meant to just not think about it and just go like oh sick that's so clever but it's just like they just haven't been able to do that.
Is it just a product of its 2005 time?
I think, yeah,
It's an
I mean,
old show,
very much so.
it's 19
And
years old and TV at that
as far as
time.
I can tell, the following four seasons, because they get out of prison at the end of this season, they prison break, and then the next five seasons, they get put back in prison and they prison break again four more
See,
times.
I've wondered this because as I said, I'm aware of the show, but I've always sort of wondered how you prolong a Prison Break show for that many seasons unless they are just not very good at prison breaking.
I think it's
Um,
the same because I think it's the same characters. Because you'd think because they could do, I'd have thought if I was going, how can I make another Prison Break season
you want to make an
after the
anthology,
first one? Yeah, you just get new characters in a new prison and they prison break in a new way.
but see, I
But
would
it's the
say that
same, it's the same two guys.
well, that says that they're good at prison breaking, which is better than having an anthology, which suggests that prison is bad at keeping people in.
I suppose so. But I
Unless
guess
it's
you could just do
different
different prisons.
prisons. Yeah, but that
Every
I
prison has one break, at least one
I
break.
don't think it hugely gripped me for five. I don't think it gripped me for 5 seasons anyway, let alone
No.
having
I
an
think the first
anthology of Prison
season
Breaks.
is maybe going to be the last season I watch.
I haven't watched Prison Break, but I have watched a film that I wanted to be the return of Cloven Hoof, Pool Man, with Chris Pine.
He had his breakout role in Dungeons and Dragons recently, didn't he?
Yeah, it was his debut in cinema. Chris Pine's debut
Yeah,
in cinema with
yeah,
Dungeons
yeah,
and
yeah,
Dragons.
yeah.
He then made his directorial debut with Pool Man. He also stars in it, and he shouldn't have. Um,
Okay,
it's awful. I could not, for the life of me, fathom what is going on. I sent you some text throughout it.
yeah,
I can't remember really what they said, but it was to the sort of effect of I think I would rather die than have to sit through this film again. It's yeah, that's all I can say. I think everyone needs to go and watch Pool Man. It is free on Amazon Prime, and it's something else, honestly. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about it. I don't know why I really brought it up, other than to say that it's a film that has stuck with me for how truly
for being really
awful it
bad.
is. Yeah,
What? So okay, so I suppose I actually that's something I kind of want to come back to about Megalopolis and about like the nature of that kind of viewing experience. But like, I mean, that how how does a film do that? So okay, so the last when we were last doing this, we spoke about the Jesus roles, right? But that film, I was talking about it last night with my housemate, because that film is just, it's just crap. There's no like, there's no sort of so bad that there's an enjoyable element to it. Like, there's no merit
no, I
in that film
enjoyed it
at
more
all.
than The Pool Man,
Really?
truly, because okay, so with the Jesus Roses, it has. I mean, it's effectively it's a remake of a film set in the Big Lebowski's sort of. I hate to say universe because that's not the sort of film that is, but set in that continuity.
Hmm.
And to its credit, it holds true to that, and it has some sort of plot. Whereas the Pool Man doesn't, and it's like if someone watched The Big Lebowski and they watched that scene where his drink has been spiked and he's sort of tripping, and they kind of thought, "Oh, I know, I'll kind of make a whole film of that," but then they kind of forgot what it was about halfway through making it,
Yeah.
and that I don't. That's the best way I can explain it. It's just it's like someone saw a couple of stills from that scene in The Big Lebowski and thought,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I know what that film is about. Now I'm going to make it," and it's
Yeah.
awful,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's unwatchable in the way that we thought the Jesus Rolls was. I remember we had to take a break in the middle of that film, but the Pool Man, I think the break you should be taking is like turning it off after about 10 minutes and then not
Yeah.
coming back to it. It's truly dire.
Actually
Um,
unwatchable. Isn't that
nice.
isn't that good?
That's great.
That's exciting.
Onwards with the show. Where we only have one topic to talk about this time. Normally we do two. We do a thing and then a thing that's loosely in some way related to that thing. This
Uh-huh.
time we don't have a second thing because we don't. What we don't want to do is throw ourselves in at the deep end and burn out. So we have one topic for today. And Alfie, would you like to tell the beautiful ladies and gentlemen that may or may not be listening what we're going to be talking about?
Megalopolis today. Got no idea what I thought of that movie. Um, I don't know if it's good. I don't think it's bad. Um, I think that there's obviously been like a lot of really quite heated discourse about it, about whether or not it's like the
For all
worst
five
thing ever
people that saw
made.
it.
Yeah. Um, and I absolutely don't think it is. I think it's got to risk sounding really annoying. I think it's got really strong artistic merit.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah. As much as much as a film with no art department can, yeah. I suppose it does in the sense that it's a film that both of us have not been able to stop thinking about.
exactly. Um, and also, neither has, like has the other five people who saw it.
I suppose sort of the mark of any, not necessarily good art, but any meaningful piece of art is that you don't stop thinking about it or talking about it. And
I think so, yeah.
and there's a line in the film where Adam Driver's character talks about the need for a discussion for Megalopolis, and the thing that he's so proud for is that there's a need for the discussion about his city. And it's the same with this film. I think the thing that, if nothing else, the people who made it can take away is that there's definitely a discussion taking place about it. I mean, the fact that we brought this podcast back because we hadn't seen the film yet, but because this film had come out, and we both looked at it and thought that has something there to talk about. I think that says a lot about the film, and that's probably its biggest credit. We've touched upon the fact that it's a baffling film.
Well, because I think I don't know, something that I'm always interested in is when, you know, the thing of so like an artist proves that they can do something really well, like they've got all the technical capabilities. I mean, Coppola's made Apocalypse Now, and made like The Godfather,
which you might say is the Godfather of films.
Has been said before, the Godfather of movies, and we all know that means it's really good. He can do it, so he's proved that to everybody, and he's proved that to himself, and so now he wants to do what is, I think, kind of the equivalent of somebody like Picasso transitioning to doing like impressionism, right? Like deciding to do like avant-garde stuff because he's bored with just doing the incredible technically flawless sketches that he could do since he was like 14. And I like it from that, with that angle. I think it's great with that angle.
No, sure, of course. But when he's said he's doing one more film after this, which so fine for that one. But when this is a passion project that, as we've said, has been in the works for over 40 years, I think that the bits that it gets wrong, which we'll go more into, it shouldn't be getting wrong, which is the visuals of it, which is the sort of just making it sort of make sense. I'll tell you what, we will go into we'll do the plot of it now. We'll do a brief summary so you can sort of see what we mean, but it's a bit nonsensical, which I think that's in a way inexcusable, because I've seen a lot of people arguing, and I even got involved in an argument with someone online about it, which says a lot about this film because I never do that. But it's poorly written in the sense that it kind of tries to do a lot more than it ever can wrap up, and that I don't think that's not excusable. I understand the actual art style being a bit wacky. I understand the writing, the characters being wacky and like you said, a bit more abstract. But I think that when this is your, like we've said before, magnum opus, this is your big, you want to go out with a bang, you've got to sort of get the basics right. It would be no good if we, in 10 years' time, we do a final podcast and suddenly the sound quality is awful and we kind of, you can't hear a word we're saying, but we go, no, the intention was there, the concept was really good. Well, that is maybe, but we didn't stick the landing. But no, so I mean, Megalopolis is a film about a city, and it's a fable with a sort of modern take on on like a sort of Shakespearean and Roman themes, and it's about Caesar Catalina is played by Adam Driver, and he wants to make a city, and to what end, who knows? He wants to further the future of humanity, and the mayor opposes it. That's the film.
and he opposes it because these two characters are just quite basic archetypes or like stereotypes or whatever. Caesar is, you know, just naively focused on the future, maybe a bit. He's like, and the mayor is set in the old ways. He's one of his lines is something like, you know, like people don't want like whatever this is. People want like public transport that runs on time and like
Education is a big
food
thing, he
or
says.
like lunch. I don't know.
But why you can't have that in a new city, I don't know.
Oh, I guess probably because Caesar's too focused on making piss travelators
It's a film you need to see,
in a
because
park.
to even understand piss travelators in a park, you have to see it. It makes no sense. And I like to know, to what end is everyone doing anything? And in this film, that question could be asked for every single plot point, every single character motivation, and you will never get an answer. To what end? Who knows? Why do
No.
they oppose each other, other than they just don't really like each other? And why don't they like each other? I don't know. I don't know why, because well, no anything. There's been no. They just suddenly agree, and they just suddenly.
Because they bond over the fact that they both you know their shared love for the mayor's daughter.
So Caesar, to give a bit of Caesar, Catalina supposedly killed his wife, and the mayor was the prosecutor in that case. Caesar was found not guilty, but the mayor still holds this grudge, right? And at the end of the film, he just comes forward with an envelope of evidence and is like, "Here's the evidence. You have 3 days to leave my daughter, or I'll put the evidence out." And then he doesn't leave his daughter, and he doesn't put or it's not even put the evidence out, because the evidence still.
No, it's that if he leaves the daughter, then he'll give him all of the evidence.
But then
that
to
he
what
tampered-
end? Because
that the
none of it
mayor
ever
tampered
comes
with
to a
the
head
case
again,
when
because
he was the
Caesar
prosecutor.
doesn't leave his daughter, and they just get on, and they're fine, and at the end of it,
Yeah.
they bond over the piss travelator. And they don't. There's nothing. That's the thing. Is
Yeah.
it's so style over substance. The whole film is so much happens in it, and it's a really hard film to talk about, because there's so much to talk about and so little to talk about. There's so much style. There's so much emphasis on everyone's got to have a wacky character trait. Everyone's got to dress really well, and they do dress immaculately. The wardrobing is brilliant, right? But then there's no substance to any of it. Every character has a basic motivation, I guess, and that's like it.
Do you is the wardrobe one of the creative teams that didn't leave about 20 years ago when making the
or
movie?
They sorted that straight away, and then they buggered off. It's brilliant. The wardrobing is excellent, with the exception of Shia LaBeouf's character. And everything is with the exception of Shia LaBeouf's character, because his character, if you took his character out of the film, it would remain exactly the same film.
It would be the same movie. Yeah, it would.
And it's really bizarre. I've got my first note is Shia LaBeouf question mark.
Well, that was one of the first things that I thought when I left the cinema as well.
Well, I've got loads. I've got loads about Shia LaBeouf. I've got another one that says, I really can't understand what Shia LaBeouf is doing here. Then Shia LaBeouf is now just a Nazi out of nowhere. He's been off screen for large chunks of the film. He's seemingly just become a Nazi. Why is there a tree stump swastika? But that's it. Is you take all of
that was weird.
all of that Nazi subplot out and everything. The film remains the same. Nothing changes. That's the thing.
I know, and it doesn't
To
go
what
anywhere
end?
either.
About everything.
It doesn't go anywhere at all.
Nothing has an end. Nothing has any resolution for anything. But so much is going on that it makes it impossible to talk about, because
No.
I've told you the plot is a city. They want to build a city. The mayor doesn't want to build a city. Eventually they build the city. So why is there a Nazi subplot? Why is there a satellite disaster movie subplot? Why is there a subplot in which a news reporter marries a bank owner, wants to take over the bank, shags Shia LaBeouf, then gets killed by the... Like...
Gets killed by the bank owner who lures Shia
Oh, it's
LaBeouf
got
and
the
her
yeah.
over to him by going, look at my boner, and then whips off his blanket, and it's a bow and arrow
It's
that
a
he really
hilarious line.
cartoonishly shoots them both with.
We just start with
That
that.
was
Is that
insane. That
there's
was
a
so
lot of
good.
lines in this that are poorly written but brilliantly delivered, and I think it's an actor's dream to star in this film.
Yeah.
I think that every actor was having fun.
What I feel like there was an interview with Adam Driver where he's talking about it, and he's saying, I think it's with him, and he's saying, like, well, when you're on set, when you're filming something, you've got no idea how it's going to turn out. You're just in it. You're just doing it. And I wonder what he thinks of this movie when he's watched it, when he was maybe, like, probably at the screening at Cannes where they got this standing ovation. They're like, what was it, like 6? They're like 100 day long standing ovation that they supposedly got.
No, it seems like it would have been great fun to be in. There's a lot of that. That was something I wrote almost immediately. Is that it's sort of shot like a play, which I think must be quite fun for them, and the sound mixing is the same.
Yes. Oh my god. It looks like footage of the live, like,
Yeah.
like what
Well,
you
it
watch
looks
in
and
English
sounds
class.
like it. The sound mixing is really bizarre
Yeah.
because everyone sounds like they're sort of yelling for an audience. At the start of it, they're all stood over. They're all stood discussing plans for the city or whatever, and Shiloh was jumping around like a madman, and everyone's discussing it, and they're all supposed to be talking in their little groups and sort of whispering, but they're all just inexplicably sort of yelling so that everyone can hear them, and it looks and sounds so much like a play, but I think it's definitely a choice they made.
Well, because it was, I mean, and that in that intro bit particularly, because throughout their flicking between kind of like talking in a modern way and then sort of dropping in sort of Shakespearean kind of like mannerisms, and that bit at the start where they're walking over and talking about the plans for the city is where they're doing the most of that. I feel like we need to continue the kind of plot outline, right?
Caesar is introduced, and basically he's planning to build Megalopolis, so he's leveled part of the city, and for some reason he can control time. They kind of never really touch on it, but he can control time. It's not important.
Yeah.
No, he can just stop time. That's it.
He can't really do anything with it, though. He can stop time and have a look, but he can't really change anything.
But so they're all discussing the plans. They're all introduced to each other. You mean everyone? They're all in the big room. And it's a ridiculous cast. I noticed that. There's a few people who have definitely been on the fringes of Hollywood, like Shia LaBeouf, or Aubrey Plaza, and so on. But then you've also got Adam Driver, Dustin Hoffman, Giancarlo Esposito, Jason Schwartzman is in it, Lawrence Fishburne, and they're all in this room discussing it, and they get into an argument. But from there, I kind of, and I've watched it twice now. I watched it earlier, and I can't really work out what goes on after that. Like they're all just.
I think one of the
stuff.
things that actually kind of drove me up the wall the most is that he builds Megalopolis off screen.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
He makes Megalopolis the name of the movie. He makes his city off screen. We don't see it.
He makes the compound that he's building out of off screen. It's already made, and we're expected to. They say. He says he's going to make it out. Yeah, he says, I'm going to make it out of Megalon, and then Dustin Hoffman goes, Megalon's unsafe. Concrete, steel. That's safe. And it's like, I mean, this movie was cancelled after 9/11 happened, and there's a 9/11 footage at the start. 9/11 is proof that concrete, and steel are not 100% safe. But also, we don't ever get told what Megalon is. He gets shot in the head at the end of the film, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
He gets his head blown off. He should be dead, but Megalon fully repairs his skull and face.
And, like, brain, presumably.
And brain, scar-free, but also it's made for buildings and travelators, and also a hologram where he can view fragmented images of his dead wife.
Yeah.
Everything important happens off screen, and everything unimportant happens on screen. And I don't understand. I truly don't understand, and I don't know how we can even talk about it, because it's impossible. What happens in the film? So from this scene, we'll try and summarize it. From the scene where they all lay out their intentions, and the mayor and Caesar have this standoff.
You don't see anything else happen. You hear everybody explain all of their motives and all of their intentions and what it is they want to be doing and what their plan is for the city, and then you don't see them doing any of it. It just either happens or it doesn't.
Have a lot happen to them. So after this, the mayor's daughter goes to Caesar, and she kind of wants to get the lay of the land, what's going on with Caesar and everything. And she kind of realizes he's not this evil bloke that the mayor has painted him out to be. He's just sort of a tortured genius. And that's where the sort of famous scene that I really love, where he asks if 1 year of medical school entitles her to delve through the riches of his Amazonian mind, and they go back and forth with entitles me, and yes, entitles me, yes, and he tells her to go back to the club, and I love that scene. But then from there again, what happens? There's a parade where Shia LaBeouf recruits a trombone player. And we don't know why for a really long time. They then stalk Caesar through the city in what is probably the best looking scene of the film, where they're driving through the city, and even that looks rubbish. And he goes to see his dead wife.
In a hologram, secret hologram.
No, because it's not even a hologram, because nobody else can see it, seemingly. I thought it was a hologram.
Yeah.
But the mayor's daughter, who's followed them all the way through the city to like stalk him, basically, goes there, and the room is empty, and Caesar's there like sort of crying, and she just goes, he still loves her. And it's like, how have you worked this out? Because first of all, obviously he does.
As far as she can see, he's just gone to cry on a bed.
Yeah. And that's it. And I guess she can probably work out that it's his wife's bed, but also it looked as if this bed is like sort of in a mausoleum in the middle of like downtown New York. And I just I don't.
New Rome.
It is New Rome, except it's got like the Chrysler Building in it and the Statue of Liberty. But also, this is another thing. Actually, this is in my notes. It's further down. So they say that it's in the great country of America at the start, and New Rome is a city, multiple times. But then Megalopolis is supposed to be a city in the middle of New Rome, which is a city, and they also then refer to New Rome as a country later on in the film, and then go back to referring to it as part of America. So I don't know.
Yeah, that confused me as well.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and it doesn't really matter, but it's this sort of thing where I'm saying there's no excuse for getting that wrong.
Yeah, that is true. After 40 years of making a movie, you'd just look over the script a couple of times and figure that out, wouldn't you?
Yeah, surely someone reads through it and goes, or watches it. Surely someone watched a cut of the film and went, hang on a minute. That's not
we haven't
right.
got that.
And there's a few bits where there's cuts in the middle of a scene where it's the same person talking. It's the same scene, except they've obviously used a different take. But like stuff, including the character, moves between the cut, and so it kind of looked. And I didn't notice it when I saw it in the cinema. I noticed it earlier. It looks like, well, it just looks like people and things are teleporting around, but they've obviously just used two different takes of the same.
I noticed that happening a couple of times. I just kind of thought that was a weird stylistic thing.
Yeah, I did until I saw Adam Driver's hand do it, and it's like his hand is up by his face at one minute, and he's talking, and it's the same line of dialogue, and then suddenly it just disappears, and it's down by his side. and it's really
Yeah,
bizarre.
that's kind of strange. That just seems like a kind of stretched editing, stretched editing team or something.
Or
I don't
no
know.
editing team.
Yeah, or just
Um,
Francis Ford Coppola in his bedroom at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, well, actually, there was a report that came aside from reports of him harassing women on set. There was also a thing that was said that he spent all of his time on set locked in a trailer smoking weed, and it completely shows, like it fully shows, that this film was made by someone who's spent copious amounts of time smoking weed
In a trailer.
in
On
a
his
trailer,
own.
and also like not being told no,
Yeah,
and everyone was just like, yeah, sure thing,
yeah,
to everything. Um,
yeah.
I just don't know. And after, I mean, I don't even know what after straight after finding out about his wife, there's then a party for Caesar's uncle,
Hmm.
and it's just, I like, it got to this point in the film, and I like genuinely considered leaving, and I considered texting you and going, nah, like this is not the film we're
It's
doing.
not the one.
Because it was like, it was completely painful in many ways.
I liked it more and more the more I watched. I think the further into the movie I got, the more I liked it. I found
Including
it,
the random like paedophile virgin subplot.
what where she is like where she's lying about her age.
Yeah, just
To be-
randomly in the middle of this party scene.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I did think that was a kind of strange. That seemed the way I kind of thought it seemed a little bit also knowing about how Francis Ford Coppola was on set and
Yes.
stuff like that
Yes.
seems a little bit like a you know like they're sometimes they're lying.
That's exactly what I've written, which is, it's a very sort of there's one in the French Dispatch where there's this sort of tortured artist who's just a total wrong un, and he's in prison, and it was a blatant sort of take on the Woody Allen case, which is well, if they're a good enough artist, can't we? And there's literally a person in that film who says, if they're a good enough artist, can't we overlook it?
Was it about Roman Polanski?
Probably also, yeah.
Because I think
Wes Anderson's outspoken on that, actually. So, yeah. And it's blatantly about that, and it's the same in this, and I think it's so painful, where Francis Ford Coppola has been accused of being inappropriate with women on set, and in the slap bang in the middle of the film, Caesar's accused of being a paedophile, and it's all just false, and everyone in it is like,
everyone's just conspiring to take him down.
Yeah.
They're all in on it.
And then they get on with it like nothing's happened, and it's just crazy. And I saw people online running with that, and I just thought, this is exactly what you wanted to happen, and it's just mad. And Francis Ford Coppola said as well that the character that he said this in a Twitter Q&A, was the character that he sees himself most in is Caesar Catalina.
Well, of course.
And it shows, and it's just like, it's this painfully tortured genius who nobody understands, and he's not really an evil bloke, and he didn't really kill his wife, and he isn't really a paedophile, and it's just like, yeah, okay, in the film he isn't, but you like don't make a film about effectively yourself saying, I'm not a paedophile, I don't do this, that, and the other, because you make yourself look like you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's
but then
painful.
there's also the fact that it was just like there was also like that outrage that, oh my god, because her thing was that she was one of the like the Vestal Virgins of Rome or whatever, where she was like, there was also like the public outrage because she'd been receiving donations from all of the like the rich, the sort of like aristocrats who'd come to Caesar's uncle's birthday to like support her in the cause of her like her virginity, and then they see this video of her having sex with Caesar, and they're all like, oh my god, she was lying. She would like, and
And
that's
about
like
her
just as
age.
much of a, yeah, but like that's just as much of a cause for outrage to them as well. I suppose for him, right, it serves, I guess it serves a double purpose, which is that he can make that kind of like that double-ended critique on cancel culture, right? Where he
Yeah,
can be like, oh well, she lied to, or like everyone, like, or he was lied about to bring him down, for something he didn't even do. And then after she got dragged for it, she was just able to just like switch up her image and just get, and for Caesar, that's a positive,
but
that
it
he is able
doesn't.
to
This
that he's
doesn't
able to just
happen
get his
though.
name cleared. And for her it's negative because she, didn't doesn't deserve to just sort of come back from that
But
after her lies or whatever.
I
So
just don't
so
get
he
it
gets to like,
because this
no,
doesn't
but
happen in the real world. Like, no one that I don't get this whole thing, but like a famous man sort of like never gets falsely accused of something and then actually brought down by it.
no.
So I don't get why they do this in these films. Wes Anderson and Coppola have now done it and gone, oh, but if they're a true genius and artist, maybe we should overlook it because. And I know that in this case, it turns out in the film that Caesar didn't do it, but I just don't get what they're trying to achieve because the people they're talking about have actually done the things
Yeah.
that they're being accused of. It's,
Yeah.
false accusations are never really an issue on a grand scale.
Doesn't it turn out that the footage was somehow doctored as well?
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf doctored it
So
with
so he
no
didn't
build up to that.
no. So he didn't do it. He double didn't do it.
Yeah, he did. He they covered him on both fronts. So first of all, the girl isn't 16 or a virgin, and also
Yeah.
he also didn't sleep with her. In which case, I feel like they kind of didn't need to double
Yeah.
back that up. Just
He's
it being fake
definitely innocent. Definitely.
I really just can't understand it. I just couldn't. And the whole scene was just sort of uncomfortable. The
Yeah. Well, the bit that I was most kind of just from a, because the thing with loads of the really sort of like dodgy green screen and other sort of visual effects was I was able to not be too taken out of the movie by it because it was just, it's like the whole movie looks weird.
It looks
It's
like an
not
aftershave
photorealistic. Yeah. Like none of the CGI is photorealistic. Like Megalopolis isn't a real thing. You can't make it photorealistic. It's just like stylized and it looks weird and that's fine. The scene at the uncle's birthday where they've got the like gymnastic clown guys, where they obviously couldn't find a soundstage big enough to film that on, so they've taken a bunch of green screen stuff to like a gym and filmed all these guys in the gym with like terrible lighting and like probably like a second unit or third unit or fourth unit director who's got no idea what he's doing, and it looks so bad. Like it looks so bad, but so much worse than anything else in the film.
No, the worst looking scene in the film is the scene where she steps into the future when he's taking her into this room of just like traffic cones and bouncy balls and things that he's set up on chairs and she's walking around it and she sees Megalopolis and she's like, I see the rain, except something's come over to me to protect me from it. And it's just like,
That's actually just reminded me of when he goes, time,
yeah,
show me the future, and then like on one side it's like this. Oh yeah, it keeps the he likes the little sort of triptych thing where the
I've
screen
got
keeps
note
splitting
about
into like
that
three.
specifically towards the end.
But
it's awful.
But the one where he goes like he goes, time, show me the future, and on one side it's just like a leaf, and then the other side it's like a dude, like a guy and presumably his son in just like regular clothes, just like standing underneath
It
a
looks
huge
terrible,
leaf.
all of the future stuff.
Like, and that's the
It
future.
looks
That's the
awful.
future
It's
he
not just that
envisions.
it's like stylistically awful in the sense of why is everything the way it is. It also is. It's poorly executed. And I genuinely think that if you gave me
Yeah.
enough money to cover the subscription of like the Adobe services, and then gave me a day, I could probably make you Megalopolis.
A cooler looking future.
So from
Yeah.
the party, he gets arrested for. Like, he actually gets arrested for being a paedophile. It's then like almost immediately.
Yeah.
Well, he loses his ability to control time at that point. Not that it matters, because who cares? And he doesn't do anything with it anyway.
Because he gets it back immediately as well.
He gets arrested and then cleared and freed immediately. Then straight after, someone walks into a government room and goes, "You know that satellite that was going to crash over Labrador?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." And then he goes, "Well, now it isn't." And then the satellite crashes into
Yeah.
New Rome,
Well, now it's actually gonna.
which is very far away,
Yeah.
I think, from Labrador.
And that's where he builds. That's where he builds his little bit of Megalopolis.
No, because he
right,
doesn't
where
even
the
build his
satellite
little bit
crashed.
of Megalopolis. He builds Megalopolis because it turns out that all it was ever going to be was just like a bit of city.
A little bit.
And that then leads to Shia LaBeouf becoming a Nazi, because people are pissed off at Caesar for building Megalopolis because they feel they've been displaced.
Because he demolished
But
a couple
he
of.
didn't. He demolished
Yeah.
a couple of buildings, and then the satellite did it all. But they think they kind of forgot that the satellite did it because it's never touched on again at all.
Yeah.
And they're pissed off at Caesar, so they all become Nazis.
Well, but because they're talking at the start of the movie about the satellite and how it's like
It's got nuclear fuel,
radioactive,
but it will
maybe.
scatter harmlessly over Labrador.
Okay, because I thought that was setting up for something where it wouldn't really scatter harmlessly, and then it just did, which is like fine, obviously. But I kind of thought that was some kind of like, I guess maybe that was a misdirect on Coppola's part, but like setting up like a Chekhov's gun, you know, like a Chekhov's nuclear fallout from a bit of satellite. Only for it to just not
I just don't
matter
get what the
actually
point
at all.
of the satellite was when Caesar was gonna do it anyway, and they carry on as if he did it anyway by becoming Nazis. But then at this point,
Yeah.
the mayor doesn't use that to oppose Caesar anymore, because he kind of just decides he doesn't care anymore because his daughter's now pregnant with Caesar's baby because they've been getting it on. And there's a funny bit in it where they all meet up, the mayor, his wife, his daughter, and Caesar, obviously, so like a sort of double date situation. And Julia, his daughter's name is, and the mayor goes, "Julia can quote anyone, show him." And then she proceeds to quote the same philosopher 3 times in a row. Like, again, what's the point of the setup of the line, "She can quote anyone," for her then to quote one person?
I think it's kind of also falls into the weird kind of classic, I suppose, like classic kind of trope of this is like an intelligent character, this character's clever, like look at all the.
But the writers aren't clever enough.
Yeah, like it's such a difficult thing to actually show on screen, I think, without them just being like having a scene where they're just really good at maths.
No, but if you say she can quote anyone, I'm clever enough to know not then to give her quotes from the same 3 person. It's not like they were like, yeah, she can make any quote from this philosopher, and then she does that.
Yeah.
That's great. She can quote anyone. You didn't need to say that. So now that you've put that in the script, back it up by having her quote more than one person 3
Yeah.
times. I just didn't understand that. And then obviously, cut to Shia LaBeouf is now a Nazi. And then at this point, I kind of didn't know who we were supposed to root for, because it kind of sets everyone up as if they're the bad guy, but also the hero, and I kind of couldn't work out who
Yeah.
he wanted us to root for.
There was no reason for Shia LaBeouf to be in that film at all, and actually, because you said that earlier, and you're totally right. His character didn't add anything at all.
No, if anything, he took away from stuff, because he just took me out of it every time he was on screen. And he's another, like, alleged abuser.
Yeah.
And I just thought, why unless you're doing it to fight woke culture, why hurt the chances of your film in the wider box office by putting him in it at all if he's not going to have a prominent role?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. That doesn't excuse it, but I would understand it if he was in it for a specific purpose. But you could have taken him out of the movie, and it probably would have helped the box office. And you've put him in it to do nothing, other than to be a little freak.
Yeah.
Which I suppose he probably
loves,
quite good at. But
that's probably the perfect
and
role.
he is good at it. He's good in the film. I'm not taking away from his acting. None of the cast of the film this is not bashing any of them, because everyone in it is as good as they can be in it. But who are we meant to root for at this point? Because they kind of frame Shia LaBeouf like he's a man of the people, except he's a blatant Nazi.
Yeah.
But is he a man of the people? Are we meant to like him?
I don't know.
Are we supposed to root for Caesar because he's a man of the future? Are we supposed to root for the mayor because
he's a man of tradition?
Who are we? I know you don't always have to root for someone. It doesn't have to be a formulaic, clear-cut good guy, bad guy. But I found myself thinking, like, what am I supposed to want to happen here? Because at the minute I don't care. I don't care who gets their way. I want to see what Megalopolis is like, because that's the film. And then Megalopolis comes about, and I didn't care again because it was just a few travelators on the floor, and we've got them. We have them. I sent you a video from the airport before I went on holiday on the travelator on the floor.
It wasn't like indestructible and made of kind of like living plastic piss.
No, well, exactly. But then why is that so controversial? Why is that a controversial thing to put them in the city? And why is everyone so opposed to walkable cities in real life and in the film? Why does everyone hate the idea of being able to reach places on foot? Why is that a woke thing? Of course I want to be able to get to the park in 5 minutes. London's rubbish because London's a massive city where you can't reach anything on foot. And I love London, but I'd hate to live there because you can't get anywhere.
You can't do anything. So I guess if only that it was kind of had dotted around it little weird half parks with strange kind of structures with piss travelators that go around.
It would make it an infinitely more livable city.
Absolutely.
It's just bizarre that this concept saw Nazism rise as a result of it. And
such strong opposition from the general public.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. And there's a bit in the film where if you go to the deluxe IMAX screening, an audience member stands up and interviews Caesar Catalina. So I got really excited because this scene comes about, and I'd seen the scene online, and this scene comes up, and someone stood up from the back of my screening and got up and walked down to the screen, and I thought, there's no way. There's absolutely no way I'm about to see this happen live. And he just left, and he never came back. And at that point I thought, to be honest, I thought I would love to be able to do the same if we weren't talking about this. It was painful viewing. There's then the most uncomfortable sex scene of all time between Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza. Like really painfully uncomfortable.
I think on purpose, just to be clear.
No, of course it is. It is on purpose because she's calling herself Auntie Wow, and she's wildly unprofessional. She shagged the only two people we see her interview.
That's true. She married one of them.
Married one of them, and then got killed by him.
True.
And that's about the film, really. Dustin Hoffman dies in a flashback and is never mentioned thereafter.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that. He just dies in a story that someone's telling.
Yeah. And
then they don't talk about it again. Or before. He just isn't in the film until he is, because he died.
Yeah, but I forgot about that actually.
He got crushed by something.
Yeah. Super weird.
Presumably in the satellite thing.
The bit where the satellite landed and there was all the weird fire projection on the side of the wall, like things.
Yes, it's
suddenly looked super weird. I don't know. I think I liked that at the time, and now thinking about it in my memory, it's bad.
I've done a full sort of double U-turn in which I hated it and then I liked it and then I watched it again and then I'm talking about it and I hate it again. But I also love it, and I think it's probably my favourite film I've seen this year because it's so bad.
Yeah, I haven't watched anything else this year that's given me this much to talk about.
There's films I've seen that I definitely could say more about, but it would. I don't know. I can't say anything about this film.
I suppose the only other thing that comes to mind is maybe something like Poor Things.
I don't. From what I saw of it, I don't think.
So I watched that and I really liked that, and it's also got a kind of similar. It looks how it feels like this movie was what wanted to look.
Yeah, well, I think that Poor Things does something better than this in the sense that I think this was profound for the sake of it, to its detriment, whereas Poor Things is sort of profound and weird, but in a way that works.
Or was making a very, very sort of like ham-fisted attempt to be profound.
I think that it's the same thing that I think about a lot of like A24 films, where they're just weird for the sake of being weird, and I kind of don't always necessarily enjoy that. And that's what this does, where it's like there's a lot of weirdness that could be taken out of it, and the film would probably benefit from that. Like Shia LaBeouf, his whole existence within the film could
just be removed.
Yeah, and it would make the film probably better. There's a lot in this that I keep saying it, but it's like a note I wrote, which is every single plot point or confrontation is raised and then completely forgotten or resolved within a 5-minute span. It feels like a clip show. This film, it feels a bit like an I Think You Should Leave, like a sort of a series of bits that don't really link.
It does have a kind of a sort of sketch show quality to it.
It's bizarre, and then all of this build up for Megalopolis to just be sort of more of a district within the city, slap bang in the middle of it.
That's built completely off screen.
And to name the film Megalopolis and then have the whole Megalopolis thing be done not in
be essentially a B plot.
Yeah,
like one of many B plots. I guess it doesn't feel that there isn't an A plot really.
No, there's not, and this is something I had an argument with someone online about as well, which is where, which stemmed from the Virgin thing, where they went, it's called a subplot. And I was just like, no, I said it's called rubbish writing. And they immediately go, well, it's not a Marvel film. And I hate this whole thing of franchise equals bad, because just because this is sort of a let's say a more art house cinema type thing, that doesn't make it good. And it's not good. And I'm tired of people using the excuse, this excuse of genuine cinema to justify all of this. And the people even ask for bad movies and ask for more of this, because
I think that's because I suppose I've been hesitant to say, I don't think it. I enjoyed watching the film, but I don't think it was good, and I don't want to say it's good, because I haven't got anything that I can actually back that up with. I can't be like, well, this is why I thought it was good. I can tell you why I liked it, but I only liked it because it was weird, and I can't tell if it was good.
I liked it, but it was terrible.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about this movie as I feel about Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers. Which is, it's an awful film, but it's like endlessly quotable, and it sticks with you. I think "What do you think of this boner I've got" is one of the best lines committed to film ever, and I will never forget that. But it's awful. It'll be it's a textbook cult classic.
Yeah. I was just going to say that because you said that earlier.
Yeah.
And it's got all the trappings of that. Within about 20 years, people will be going mental, like, oh my god, do you remember who remembers? There'll be YouTube essays about like who remembers Megalopolis. Do you remember Francis Ford Coppola's like monumental bomb, his like magnum opus that nobody watched, like people will be all over it. People like those tins of baked beans you can get with little bits of sausage in them. You know, people like weird stuff.
They're better than this though, because that's like two classic British foods. This is like I don't even know what this is. This is like if someone like turned to me and went, "Oh yeah, you know the McDonald's Grimace shake? That's my favorite drink of all time." Like, shut up. Shut up. No, it's
That's
not.
the best thing I've ever had.
Yeah, it's not. And I know people like this. I know people who will sit there and with no shame go, "Oh yeah, this French film from 1992 is my favourite film of all time." And it's like, no, it isn't. You're just saying that, and that's what people are like with this film. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it.
I
This
I
was
want
a
to
painful watch.
make a last comparison, because just between just after I watched Megalopolis, an album came out by the guy, the like lead singer of a band called Black Midi. They've split up. He's made this new album. He's called Geordie Greep, and the album's called The New Sound. And I've been listening to it. I really like it. It's kind of like, I think Anthony Fantano said the single was like musical theatre core, which is just it kind of is a little bit, but that's also just like really reductionist and annoying. That album is a much more knowing and actually kind of like well thought out and well put together kind of like take on. It's kind of about like incels. Like loads of the songs are written from the perspective of this incel, but kind of in like a pre-incel time with like a pre-incel like aesthetic, and they're so dramatic and over the top and just like, and it's drama for drama's sake, right? And it's like there's a song called Terror, spelled Terra, where like he like introduces you to his magnum opus, his most incredible thing that he's ever made, and it's like the Museum of Human Suffering is what it is, and and he takes you through, and he's like, here we have like, you know, like abandoned fetuses, it's like victims of drought and famine, and then at the center of the museum, like the grandest, like the centerpiece of it all, is my like aching heart, like the most, that's like the epitome of human suffering, is my aching heart, and my like poor me, woe is fucking me. And it's done really knowingly, and it's done really like, it's just written really well, and it's really interesting, and I think it does a lot of the things and comments on things that Megalopolis is trying to maybe, and just like failing horribly, and it's not doing the drama for drama's sake thing well. Megalopolis isn't.
It's a bit like, I suppose Megalopolis reminds me of a bit like The Weeknd, if we're going to compare it to music, a bit like The Weeknd's like weird recent run where he like was appearing at award shows with bandages around his face and all this fake plastic surgery, and it's like, I'd kind of understand it if you had like a genuine, meaningful storyline to your albums, but why are you doing this other than to get talked about?
Yeah.
And that's it. Is what you've just described is the sort of thing I like, which is where there's a thought to it and there's a reason for it, and it might be weird, but there's something to it. But Megalopolis is turning up at award shows with bandages around your head, and then kind of why?
Yeah.
You could have not done that and it would have had the same impact.
Yeah.
And that's it, and that's all it's doing. And I just don't. We've summarised the movie as best as we can. Thank you to everyone for bearing with us through this as well, because it has been about 2 years since we've done this, and it's like the hardest movie to come back on. But thank you for sticking with us until this point. Now, a staple of the podcast was that rather than saying the movie is black and white, good and bad, or rather than giving it an out of 5 or out of 10 rating, what we like to do is compare it to another movie. So the first movie we ever did on this podcast was Morbius. So after that, the next movie we asked, is it better or worse than Morbius? For a long time, Morbius held the title of the worst movie we saw, so we continued with that. Then we did the Jesus Rolls, which we decided was worse than Morbius, so that became the benchmark. Then we did the Groot mini-series, in which Groot's Pursuit was the worst we watched. But we decided we're going to roll it back to the Jesus Rolls because, upon further reflection, I think that Groot's Pursuit
is just a kids show.
Yeah,
it was not for us at all,
and it was bad.
And of course, we hated it.
And it was bad for a kids show, but at the end of the day, it was still we just weren't the target audience. And if we continue on that path, we'll probably never beat it. The Jesus Rolls, I'm not gonna say what the Jesus Rolls was about. I'm not gonna say why we didn't like it. I'm gonna plug the previous episode. Go back and listen to the Jesus Rolls episode. We need to have a unanimous agreement on this. Is Megalopolis better or worse than the Jesus Rolls?
It's better than the Jesus Rolls. I think because it is something, right? And the Jesus Rolls was just absolutely nothing. There was no redeeming features.
No, because you know what? I think that there was more redeeming to the Jesus Rolls in the sense that it has a plot and it doesn't veer from that plot, and it was something in that it was a swing and a miss at a sort of zany spin-off at an interesting character. And it was a bad film, and it was one of the worst films I've ever seen. But Megalopolis, you could take any one bit away from Megalopolis. You could take any character from Megalopolis, for example, Shia LaBeouf, and it wouldn't impact the film in any way. You could take any subplot from the film, lift it, remove it, it wouldn't impact it. You could take Megalopolis away from Megalopolis, and it wouldn't impact it because Megalopolis does not happen on screen. So to that, and I think that the Jesus Rolls was a better film.
I think that the Jesus Rolls didn't have a so bad it's good kind of redeeming factor. I think it just was so bad. It was just so bad that I just hated it. And I think that even though I don't think Megalopolis has a so bad it's good thing in the same way either as some other things do, but I think there is more to talk about. There is more to like unpick. There is just like more there, I think. And I think the Jesus Rolls is a less successful movie or like piece of art or like whatever it is.
Okay, but if I
want to refer to it as,
if I like ate 5 meals in a day and I then threw them up on the floor in front of you, or I put a Greg's sausage roll on a table and I said, which one would you rather eat? Okay, the Greg's sausage roll is not the peak of food. It's fairly bland and there's nothing to it. And there's more to the pile of sick. There's 5 meals in there. Would you rather have the Greg's sausage roll or would you rather have the pile of sick that I've just thrown up in front of you?
I think a Greg's sausage roll is maybe too high praise of the Jesus Rolls. I think maybe
a cold, day-old Greg's sausage roll, where the idea of a Greg's sausage roll is still there, it's just stale.
Okay, so let's imagine that I'm like ill in some way. I'm really, really horribly ill in some way, and the thought of a Greg's sausage roll is making me feel sick. And that's, it's like something I deeply, deeply don't want.
So in that scenario, you'd rather eat my pile of sick?
No. But I think that's a better... That to me feels more like an accurate representation of how I feel about the Jesus Rolls.
You'd still rather have the Greg's sausage roll?
I probably would maybe still rather have the Greg's sausage roll than the pile of sick.
Yeah.
But I don't...
But there's more to the pile of sick. There's more in there, and there's an interesting sort of... Because you could sit there for ages and go, I wonder what meals are in that pile of sick. I wonder.
I wonder what this once was.
I can kind of make out a bit of pasta in there. But if you took out the pasta, what is it? It's still a pile of sick. But I can kind of also make out. I can make out a bit of sushi in there. Yeah, okay, but it's still a pile of sick. And at the very least, the Jesus rolls is. I can tell you what the Jesus rolls is about, and I think if you go back and I'm not going to for the point of go back and listen to that episode, but if you go back and listen to that episode, we told you what it's about. I can't tell you what Megalopolis is about. But that said, you're probably right, and it is. I'd rather watch it again, I think.
I'd rather watch Megalopolis again than the Jesus rolls.
Do you think?
Although maybe now I do want to watch the Jesus rolls.
Yeah,
again.
exactly, because there's definitely merit to it. It is so bad it's good in a way. It's got a good cast. It's got some good actors in it. It's got.
You might have convinced me.
And I feel solely as a okay, let's say we're undecided on this. Okay, we're undecided, we're split 50-50. I think as a token of the start of the second season of Cloven Hoof season 2, the benchmark, as was Morbius, should be the Megalopolis.
I do like that, and I do think that is.
So, as a sort of tokenistic gesture, Megalopolis is worse than the Jesus rolls. Semi-confirmed. Stamp it. There we go. Sent off.
Okay.
Folded up in
I'm
its
happy
little
to-
envelope and put into the vault. Megalopolis is now the worst film you've ever seen. Which isn't necessarily true, and I hope that the people listening sort of have enough
enough context here to.
Going forward. There we go.
I'm happy to agree to that. The worst movie we've ever seen.
Yeah. Exciting times.
Yeah. Isn't that something for the first episode back? After so long. But, it's exciting. New beginnings. New season. New episodes.
Hopefully, going forward, the same will happen too. Maybe
even more
new ones in the
than
future.
before.
We'll be back in not this Thursday, but
In
the
time
next
for
Thursday.
Halloween.
Halloween, baby.
And isn't that exciting?
We might even do a spooky
movie. Maybe a new one. Maybe a movie that's spooky, maybe not in the traditional sense, but maybe more spooky in a kind of scary science fiction kind of way. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
And we'll see you here in 2 weeks.
And scene.
Or just less than.